how did that one make you feel last night? Because to me, like a 49er fan, you had some feelings if you watched that. It was the team that you did play versus the team you were supposed to play, who also played you on Christmas and embarrassed you there. And they went up and down the field on one another. And I got to imagine there were some emotions there. How did 49er fans, how did that one make you feel? What emotions came out of that?
I'm sure a number of emotions. One, for me, was envy of Kansas City, and also a little bit of frustration that they didn't get Kansas City last year because now they look better. And Xavier Worthy, for all his speed, big deal. What can you do with it? Oh, you can do that. End around. And then the other touchdown, whatever. I mean, that was a walk-in broken coverage. That had nothing to do with his ability. But still, the fact that your rookie came out and scored twice and you don't even have Hollywood Brown yet, you look faster than you did last year when you just had Rashee Rice. And even if they lose Rice to suspension, they're still going to be just fine. That's kind of the feeling I took away from the Kansas City side of it. And from Baltimore, it made me think also like, man, if you had Baltimore in the Super Bowl, you had a chance because Lamar Jackson, for whatever gifts he has, which are innumerable, he doesn't seem to have the ability to come through in the biggest moments and win the big games.
That's an interesting one. I mean, obviously, he's won some big games. I know the reputation about how it feels at the end. I don't know, man. Like, I look at it also, and the trenches for the Chiefs and Ravens yesterday didn't look that great. They really didn't. Their offensive lines, and we'll ask this to Rex Ryan, I bet any coach out there would say, if you could have one position group really, really work out, which would it be? And they may say quarterback, if that counts as a position group. But larger issue, I tend to think football teams look good when their offensive line looks good. And last night, you did not have great offensive line play, but your quarterbacking is so great that you're able to sort of mask it and still function. But yeah, I'm with you. And Xavier Worthy only had 1 run and 3 targets.
Right.
2 catches. But he had a huge imprint on the game, and for that to be his very first NFL game, that just looks like a toy that Andy Reid did not need from the perspective of a 49er fan.
Exactly, and yet he's a rookie, and you figure he's only going to get better, and as long as he stays healthy, that speed is something that almost no other human being in the NFL has, and so it becomes even a greater challenge when you're trying to scheme against that because – Worthy on the end around or the jet sweep, the amount of speed he has getting to the edge is going to pose problems. And I look on the other side in Baltimore, their offensive line, they struggled. The Chiefs' O-line, it struggled. And I wonder if part of that isn't a byproduct of what we do now in the preseason, which is we don't play a lot of football together. Yeah. And I think about that in terms of the Niners where Trent didn't play and the whole O-line never played a snap together. And so are we expecting them to come out and be a really strong, cohesive unit from week one? That's a big ask, yeah.
Better be.
But probably won't be.
Going up against a really good defensive line on Monday night. I was reminded in thinking about the Niner-Jet game, I was reminded of how we felt when the Niners were going into Pittsburgh last year. And there was all kinds of doubt. There's less doubt this time around because this time 49er fans are not like, can Brock throw? Is his arm attached? Are we doing this? Like, we don't feel ready, and you just didn't know where that was going to go. And then they came out and looked absolutely impeccable. Like, they just played a beautiful football game, and it was over. It was over after 3 quarters. They run away from Pittsburgh. Is it going to look again like that this time around? I don't know. I think the Jets are good. I think they are. They offer a lot of talent in big positions. I don't really know exactly what to think about Aaron Rodgers. But anyway, that's getting ahead of ourselves. I think there's a lot of meat on the bone in terms of not only how you felt watching these two teams play, but the assessment of the quarterback play, which was, I don't know, what word would you use? Like, they were both good.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think either one of them were great last night, but man, like that. Like, we may end up this year, and I do think this is going to end up being that conversation. We're no longer asking if Brock Purdy is good. It's kind of like, can he be great? Can he be one of those guys?
Right.
Even though you thought Lamar was wobbly, he's still both guys are 2-time MVPs.
Sure. And wobbly is too strong, but when it came time to win the game and make the play, he didn't make the play. He had a wide open receiver that he didn't see, and he whizzed it through the back of the end zone, and then he connected with Lively in the back of the end zone, and he was an inch or two out of bounds, and that's a tough break. So he did make that throw, and he made a bunch of throws. But the way they drove down the field at the end of the game felt to me a little bit like Madden, where Lamar gets back there, feels the pressure, and he knows that his best foot forward is to run. So Lamar is still, I think, too much for my liking in a run-first mindset. And in that last drive, you saw that it was a lot of runs. It was some passes, and he moved him down the field, but then he didn't cash it in. So I don't think wobbly is fair, but he is not the kind of quarterback I think that is going to, at least so far in his career, he has not shown that he can win those big games.
Well, let's talk about that. Like, stylistically, is there something there on Lamar Jackson? And then we can transfer it to, like, stylistically, what kind of quarterback do you really, really want to have? And keep out of the conversation, well, you want Mahomes. Right, so you can't have him.
Right.
He's a chief. But I do think that as other teams are building rosters, like right now, there's a lot of attention on the Bears and the Commanders. And even, Belichick is having debates on national TV yesterday about whether or not Caleb Williams actually looked good in the preseason. He's like, you all saw the highlight throws, but he had a 50% completion percentage in the preseason. So half of his throws were incomplete. Look, incredibly small sample, but I think that this is kind of what nobody would say you want an immobile quarterback, but do you want a quarterback who runs that often? My answer would be I want a quarterback who can run, but usually doesn't have to.
Yeah.
And that's Mahomes. And sometimes Josh Allen.
Exactly.
But not Lamar. Like he's great for your fantasy team, but he runs too much.
Agreed. And I'm looking right now at the top 10 all-time in quarterback rush yards. How many of the top 10 all-time in quarterback rushing yards do you think have a Super Bowl title? Of the top 10
all-time rushing quarterbacks?
Rushing yardage, yeah. Of the top 10, how many of them have rings? And this is where I was thinking about it with Lamar Jackson, because I'll spoil the bit and say he's number 3 all-time in quarterback rush yards.
Well, man, so that's 0. Randall Cunningham is probably on that list.
Number 5,
he didn't
no
win.
ring.
Yeah. Is Steve Young on the list?
Number 6 with a ring.
Okay, so that's the one ring that came to mind was that one. Is it
I
one?
love it. You're doing great. No, there's 2 more that have rings.
2 more rings?
Number 4 in rush yards and number 10 in rush yards.
Oh, gosh. Oh, that's tough. Now you're making me think about like all the Super Bowls.
Well, I'll give you a couple of the guys who are on the list who don't have rings. Michael Vick is number 1. Cam Newton is number 2. And then number 4 has a ring. You mentioned Cunningham at 5, Young at 6. Fran Tarkenton's a tough one at 7.
If we're going to go back that.
You mentioned Josh Allen. He's 8th.
Okay, no ring.
Steve McNair, rest in peace, is 9 with no ring. The other 2, Russell Wilson, number 4, and Aaron Rodgers, number 10.
Is he really number 10
Just past Donovan McNabb, yeah.
Holy crap, I never would have guessed that he was top 10.
So I guess it's a long way for me to say that, run-first quarterbacks don't have a great level of success in winning Super Bowls, and I still think that Lamar is too much in that camp for my liking.
Yeah. And by the way, that's not because it's not fun to watch.
Oh, fun.
It's not because it's not effective a lot of the time in certain spaces. But like Lamar last night was actually at times putting his shoulder down and pushing people. And I will forever believe that it's the wrong thing to do for a quarterback to take hits. And that's my only reasoning there. It's not that it's not an incredible weapon. It's not that it's not fun. It's not that it's not any of those things. I just think it shortens careers and you miss too many games and all of those things. And, this is now me guessing, but let's throw this into the discussion. When does Lamar Jackson have the most trouble in an NFL season?
Late in the year, January.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, could that be because dude is worn the hell out? Can you throw the ball 35 times and rush for a $120?
41 and 16.
Do you know what that must feel like? Do you know what he woke up feeling like today? How many years has he been doing this now? Where are we, 7 or 8?
Yeah.
2 MVPs. He's phenomenal. Don't take any of this as a shot at Lamar. I just don't know what the real sustainability is for it, both in a career and in a season.
73 plays last night for Baltimore. 57 of them involved him throwing or running. 41 throws, 16 carries. It had me thinking about James Harden a little bit, about, the ball dominance and how every time Harden gets the ball, he's going to try to score. 57 of 73 plays involved him either running for it or throwing for it. That's a heavy load now.
There is no NFL team I've seen that relies on one player like the Baltimore Ravens rely on Lamar. Bonte tweeted out something last night that I thought was a very good observation. And he goes, doesn't it always feel like Baltimore needs another receiver? And I was like, gosh, it does.
Yeah.
And they draft him high, and then they put him out there, and they may work, they may not. Zay Flowers looks like a hit. But once again, whether it goes from Zay Flowers to OBJ, Hollywood Brown, whatever it is, it's always just like, not quite that dude, and you always seem to have just lost one, and you're replacing him with another who's nice, but again, not enough for Lamar to just sit back and be like, let's delegate. Let some other people do some stuff out here.
It's not the way their offense is designed, and I don't think that it's the way that he feels he can be successful. And it's hard to look at what he did, 16 carries for a $122, and say, yeah, that didn't work, because it worked, and it kept him in the game, and it helped him drive down the field, and it's such a great weapon. But then you get inside the deep red zone, and that's where you need a QB to do QB things, and he just doesn't.
Well, I mean, you look at the way Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs scored their touchdowns last night. Now, he had some wonderful plays, as he always does. He's freaking Patrick Mahomes. But doesn't it look like he kind of did less? I mean, the Ravens go all the way down the field. Lamar does his thing. Derrick Henry had a good opening drive. He finishes it off. You head to the other end. Before you even could blink, the Chiefs have tied the game. And all Patrick did, he just turn around and you hit Rice over the middle a couple of times and then hand the ball to Xavier Worthy, and he's gone. And then the next touchdown, same thing. Broken play, right sideline, boop, just an easy toss, and Worthy is gone. And Patrick Mahomes has had maybe one of the most healthy careers. I know it's still young, but one of the most healthy careers I've ever seen. I can barely remember Patrick missing a game ever.
Well, last year, you remember he rolled the ankle really bad, and then
somehow
I think he missed half a game, and then he just came back. Everyone said, there's no way he comes back.
Yeah.
And he played through it.
Yeah.
So he's had some minor injuries, but you're right. And part of that is because he knows how to get out of bounds. And also, memo to the rest of the league and Niners, when you play him, don't touch him when he gets near the sideline. Now, that was a late hit. The second one, the one that they actually called, the first one where the Chiefs went bananas, when the guy barely put his hands on him.
Yeah.
No flag. The second one was a clear flag. The guy dove at his knees, and he was already on the white. You got to stay away from Patrick.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue whether it was or wasn't a flag because that's the way it's called now.
Yeah.
But also, the observation I had there is Patrick is really good at drawing that flag. He knows exactly what he's doing. And so what he does is he just kind of tiptoes on the sideline to make a defender commit. And as soon as he can feel that commitment, boop, just step out of bounds, and then bang, you're going to get another 15. Russell Wilson used to be really good at this, even in the open field, where he would kind of do the late slide. It's like, I'm running at you. And the second he sees your body leverage, go, oh, you're not going to slide? I'm going to hit you. Boom, slide right underneath the legs. Have the defender clip the top of his helmet as he goes right over you. Bang, I'm going to get another 15.
Yeah.
They've gotten really good at it. It kind of stinks, I think, for fans and defensive players.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch, but there's no way around it.
No, there's nothing you can do as a defender because, we saw it last year in a playoff game where the quarterback looked like he might be going down and the defenders kind of step back, and you just can't. You have to commit, and you have to try to go low if you're going to try to get a quarterback who's sliding. And if you see him start to slide, you got to somehow dive out of the way.
I mean, here's with all of everything that we just said, with all of it said, golly, that was a phenomenal game.
Great game.
And I think both quarterbacks are just, oh my God, they're restaurant quality. The whole thing. Both of them, Patrick and Lamar. Maybe this would be a fun thing to ask Niner fans. We've moved past the idea of whether or not Brock Purdy's good. Anybody feel any quarterback envy last night? Anyone? Did you feel that at all?
Well, yeah, with Mahomes. But yeah. I mean, he's the best maybe to ever do it. And you watch 20 of 28, very quiet night. He didn't have to do too much, but when there's a throw to be made, he made the throw. He's elusive. He can run when he has to. He doesn't like to, it seems, but he just is so smart and he's so aware that you never get a clean hit on him, and he just wins games.
Lamar has a different look to him, but it's not. I'm not going to call him as effective as Mahomes, but it's pretty damn close. You know what I love about both of them? Because both of their offensive lines were a little off, I thought. Both of them, when they're holding that ball and somebody breaks through the line, I've never had more confidence watching a quarterback. It's like, no, they're going to be able to find a way to extend the play and make something good happen. They're both incredible at it. Brock is too, but when Brock does it, I feel, and maybe this is just because he's such a young player, it's a little bit more frenetic. Brock's running around in circles sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mahomes 90 and 25, by the way, all time. His record, 90 and 25, inclning the playoffs. So anyway.